Welcome back, everybody. It's Karen Jean with Ex Libris Crafts, and this is where we are. We ended our last video with me going off to dye paper green, and I will bring you up to date on what has happened since then and as we continue on. This is our journal cover, and it has dried. The paint has dried. This is the next day, so I'm going to set that aside. One of the things I did was I took two pieces of the paper that I had copied, glued them down onto just plain white cardstock to make some journaling cards. In this one, because the pieces are big, we can make bigger journaling cards with that. But I haven't made any journaling cards because I don't know what size I want them. But I got that ready to make journaling cards. Also, I did dye paper green, and I put together the signatures, and I did change things around just a touch. So, I think this is the one. Okay, this is the one. This is the signature I have done, and then I'll show you this, and then we'll work on the other one together. So, last video I said that I wanted to use I was going to put one of these pages in the center and connect it as a journal signature center and connect it as a pocket. Well, what I did instead was, I switched it out with the one that I was going to use as the journal cover, because the one that I was going to use as the journal cover had all this pretty bleed through from when it got wet. So I thought that would be a really pretty signature center. And then the only thing in my mind is maybe if I put a doily in or something. But so this is the signature. What I did here for the signature cover, yes, I did dye some paper green, is I took one of the plain ones and I attached it to just a pale, this is a piece of cardstock, and as you can see, I just sewed around it so that the front and back of each signature is going to be a big pocket. So that's what I've decided to do. So there we have that. And then I did dye some paper green. So here we have, so this is one signature. So there's the green, this is that ivory linen paper, some blue. And remember I talked about how some of the pages were ripped. On this page, what I did was, on some of the pages that were had some severe ripping to them, I started just tearing them and using them as band-aids for the ripped pages. So this one, I don't know if you can see it or not because it's the same blue, it blends in. This corner was missing here. See if you can see that. So I patched in, just using a glue stick, I tore off a piece and I patched it in on the other side. And then on the edge of this, it was ripped, so I tore off a big piece and folded it over the edge because it had lots of tears in it, and glued it down. I tried first with a piece of the surgical tape, or micropore, as Carol Tinson calls it. And so I glued that down on the edge. So there's that. Now, back to the signature. There's a piece of the journaling page, some of the green paper, journaling page again. And see here you can see where I did the patch job on this because it's pink, and I just used the same blue paper and patched it up. And I like the way that looks actually. So there we go. There's that. Another piece of green paper, another journaling page. Here, oh, this one's coming up. Here's another one that I patched. Let me fix this. See if I can fix it. Just put a little bit of glue stick there. There we go. And turn it over, and you could see where it was a big corner was missing out of that. And then this is the signature center. And let's go back. This one has a tear to it as well. Might want to patch that. So, and here is the rest of the signature. Here's another patch on the green piece of green paper, I should say. This blue one has a side patch as well. Oh, that's the one that I showed you already. And the green here is missing a corner. I think I'll probably just leave that. And there's that. So let's count. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's 24, that's 48 writing pages, because it would be numbered like this, they're folded in half. So that's 48 times 2 signatures is 96 pages in this journal. This journal will have 96 pages. So this is where we are. So I'm going to put this signature aside. And let's go into this one to see if it needs any repair work done. And they might be set up a little bit differently. Here's the green. It has a little tear in it. Just figure out if I want to do that or not. Pink. Green again. Journaling page. Blue. Has a bit of a corner missing. Oh, it has some tears here. I'm going to have to patch that up. Pink seems to be okay. Journaling card. Green. And the signature center. This one is, oh, let's check the other half of the pages. Seems to be, oh, here we have, yeah, so we'll have to patch that one. This one has a tear in it, so we can fix that as well. A little tear on that green one I just saw. There we go. Okay, so today is Saturday here in southeastern Pennsylvania, and it seems to be a nice day. It's a little bit cloudy, but it's not raining. The sun is out. Everybody's out there doing their yard work. All right, let's patch that up. It's a little piece. And my dog is at my feet, terrified. She hates the noise, those kind of motor noises. So I had to give her her medicine. Just a little. There we go. It's on the edge, so I'm going to fold it in half over it like so. And I'm just going to use glue stick on this. Flip it over. Yeah, so I gave her her medicine, anti-anxiety medicine, and she seems to be doing better, I guess, at the moment. I don't give her the full dose. I gave her her medicine earlier, and the dosage is 1.5 pills, and I usually only give her 1 pill and save the half pill if I need it. And today we needed it. So I gave her the additional half pill a little while ago. It seems to help. See anything on there? Nope. Check that page. Let's see. Yeah. Throw some patching on here. Oops. I think maybe what I'll do, if I have 2 pieces here, so I'm sure I have enough. Oh, see, this page I was playing with, it was torn straight across, a very large tear. This page is seeing a lot of tears. So what I put on the one side was some of the surgical tape, and I just went over it with some ink with a brush. But the ink I used was a royal blue, and it came out kind of purple on here, which is fine. But so that was my test subject area there. So what I think I'm going to do here, because of this, I could use 2 pieces. Let's try this. Tear that. do only one side. Let's see. There we go. So I will patch this up, single side. Then I will cut it. Find my scissors. There we go. And this one here, oh, I could either do a fold over like I did on some other areas, or I can just do a one side. I'm not using this because when I tore it, where you see the change in colors, that is actually where the paper tore itself in half, so to speak. So that's a weakened piece of paper, so I am putting that in the garbage. So, let's see. See, it happened there too. You know, when you tear paper, sometimes you get the raw edge. So, we'll do that there. It'll make for an interesting journal. That's for sure. I mean, it's a junk journal, right? And they started, the term junk comes from using pieces of garbage, of junk mail. That's how they all started. So I try not to, you know, a lot of people have beautiful digital kits and stuff, and I try not to use that as much because that's me. I try to keep to the junk portion of the junk journal. So sometimes I use digital kits. I do buy them. Some of them are very nice, but okay. And here's this blue page, which has these, let's see, oh, that's a pretty big one. Now I can just use the surgical tape, and I will put that here for you to see. It really is very thin. It doesn't add any true thickness to it, and it blends in. So let's just go ahead and cut that. Because it's transparent. It's not perfectly clear, but it is very transparent. See? And you can hardly see it. I mean, there, kind of blends. So that's what that looks like. There's a weak spot here. I'm afraid that's going to tear, so I do want to reinforce that. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to reinforce it with another piece of paper, and then who knows how. I don't want to reinforce this side because it's so pretty. I'll reinforce this side out here. Who knows what or how I will. There you go. Where is it? It's right there. This whole corner is kind of weak. I'll just patch it right there. You know, who knows what we're going to do with this page. I'll glue more stuff down onto it, which can also reinforce it. My fingers, well, now they're kind of glittery because of all the iridescent medium that I use when I'm dyeing the papers. But yesterday they were all green from the paint and food coloring that I was using. I think I need to reinforce this a little bit too. Yeah, that's good. I don't think I made it long enough. I guess I'll just patch it as opposed to folding it over. There you go. So we've reinforced that a little bit. Tear that off. It's obviously going to rip. Let's reinforce down here as well. Everything's sticking to everything. My dog hears my daughter and my grandson in the kitchen, so I know how I rate on the bottom of that food chain with her. I think I'll just use a piece of tape right there because I use tape here. Oh, no, now she's back. Okay. And let us continue on. Now this is a pink page. Oh, yes. Definitely need to do something here. What side do we want to reinforce? And does it even matter? This one I think will, see if I fold it in half. Yeah, let's do that way. So I'm collaging the journal before I'm even doing the journal. This kind of goes with the theme of it anyway because it has the collaged cover and signatures. So. I'll be curious to see what this looks like when it's all said and done. Let's do a little something there as well. It's pretty. I just use this scrap piece of cardboard as a work surface when I'm gluing. There we go. Here's a green. And then the center. So I think that I've done all the patching that needs to be done. Move this aside for now. I have my two signatures. Let me get a baby wipe to see if I can get the glue off my fingers. Now, the last video I was talking about how dear Julie uses graph paper to make a template of her spine. I think I said journal or cover or something, but she uses the graph paper to make a template of the spine, and then she saves them, which I think is a very clever idea, and using graph paper really helps with the measuring and the spacing and stuff. So I will go ahead and do that as well. And then we will sew these signatures in. But first I have to decide if I want to use some kind of paper doily here for the signature center, which will, where are my paper doilies? Which will then create pockets for the center. Here we go. Paper doilies. So this is 2 doilies. Not quite big enough. Let's go to the next size up if I'm trying to get it from edge to edge. That doesn't go edge to edge either. But does it need to go edge to edge? Because then the next size up is the large size. And that kind of covers maybe too much of it. But it does create a very large corner tuck pocket there, because remember, this is the center, so it's going to be sewn down. Creates a very large corner tuck. So that's what we have to figure out what we want to do. Do the smaller one or the larger one? I guess the larger one. So let's see. Fold this in half. Oh. I'll cut it down. I'll use my scissors here. Oops, just ripped it a little bit. I guess that's okay. Let me do this. Maybe trim it down just a little bit more. Just to neaten that edge up just a little. I'm not even sure if I'm in frame or not. There we go. And I think I will use my rotary cutter for this. Otherwise, I think anything else, if I drag it across, it will tear it more. There we go. So there's that one. And how's this one look? I'll neaten this one up too. With the rotary cutter. There. Now, to glue these to the center of the signatures, which is always can be a bit there's the center of that. See if I can find my center here. Kind of hard to see the center of this to line up these centers. There. You see how it goes over the edge just a touch. We'll cut that off after we secure it down. Now, the question is, what am I going to secure it down with? And how am I going to sew these signatures? What I could do is I could sew the signatures together on the machine and then pop them into the book by hand. That's one option. The other option is just to leave it as is and pop it into the book by hand. I still need to attach this to the bottom of this page though. So let us take a bead of the art glitter glue, go back and forth in our little zigzaggy pattern. Now remember when I said that on the thinner paper, it kind of comes through. So kind of rub it out with our fingers, and it'll be attached down the middle, and hopefully, I'm not sure if that's going to be a secure enough hold. We might have to decide to do something else. Let me just trim this down. I might have to figure out doing something else to make sure that that stays. And perhaps we can add a piece of this underneath it as a wraparound, like we did when we were repairing the torn pages. Do that. Or what I could do is, if I could print out another piece of this paper, and because I did scan it and save it into my computer, I can we can then do it that way. So that's something we need to think about before we attach the signature in, if I'm going to do that. Another thing we need to think about is, do we want to do any folds here? And what I mean by that is, see how we created a pocket by gluing this on, but do we want to create bottom pockets by folding paper up, which would of course then shorten that paper. So that's something to consider too. All right, let's get that back together, and let's attach the doily now to this other signature. Let's find the center. There it is. The other piece of doily. And another thing that we can do before we attach the doily in, which I did not do to the other one, so I'm not going to do it to this one because it's too late, although I still can do it, is if I wanted to do any stamping or coloring on the doily, because the doily is obviously just a plain white doily. So if we wanted to add any color to it, you know, so right now it's very plain, and this is, although this is pretty with the bleed through, it's still rather plain. Trim this down. This is pulling up here, so we're going to have to attach it here. To the corner a little bit to make that tuck spot, or rather large corner pocket. There we go. And it'll be sewn down, and now we have these two large areas, and we can make then large journaling cards out of this and put them in there. Okay, so now the decision is, well, I don't need to make the decision now. First, let me do this with the graph paper a la Dear Julie Julie. Let me get out a piece of graph paper. I have a, what I'll do is I'll do a craft room tour, and I'll show you, I have a shelving, you know, one of those cubby shelving units, and I found a tutorial online as how to make paper storage, because that's, you know, what I wanted to do. Let's do it this way. I'm sorry, to you know, just to, for better organization and stuff, some paper storage. And I followed along this tutorial, and I put in shelves in a couple of the cubbies, and I'm gonna have to go back and figure out something else because half the shells came down, and so everything's just a big fat mess right now, which is obviously not the way it's supposed to be. So, all right, so here's the top. Now, and see, now I don't have to use a ruler to measure. I can just make sure on the outside mark where I want to do my signatures. I like this idea. Thank you, dear Julie. I usually do 3 stitches. Some people do 5 for added security. I can do 5. Let's do 6" by 9" so I know which one this is. And this is the top. So, well, my pencils need to be sharpened. I have 2 signatures. Let's space them evenly in. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 squares. So if I do 3 in, separate by 3, and have 3 over, so that they are evenly spaced. So let's do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There's my first one. Now, also, Pam over at the Paper Outpost, what she does, and I've taken this from her, is that she doesn't space them evenly throughout. So this way she can tell which is top and which is bottom. She doesn't put the middle ones straight in the middle. She puts them a little bit closer to the top, and that way it's a visual, so she knows which way is top and which way is bottom. So let's do the bottom ones here. All right. And that is 1, 2, 3, 4 up from the bottom, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4 down from the top. Look at that. And let's do the others. The middle's about here, so let's do here. A little bit closer to the top than to the bottom, so that I have the visual as to where they are. So that's that. Okay, of course now I need to mark them. If I'm using this as a template, let me hole punch. That's a big hole punch. That's a big hole. That's a big hole from a standard hole punch. I could use just use my chopper, which is what I'm about to use anyway, to chomp the holes. But I need to mark this so I know where to chomp it. Let me get out my Sharpie. And just put a mark in the center of that circle there. There. And I will get out my big old chomper, Crocodile 2 chomper. Make sure it's on the 1/8 hole. And I love this thing. I find it is the easiest way. A lot of people use the old, you know, all method. Dear Julie actually uses just a push pin, and she explains why she uses that. She has problems, I think, with her thumb, she said. But that's also a very good idea, and also push pins, you know, as opposed to spending money. And come around here, because sometimes it doesn't go through the fabric. all the way. Now what I could do is I could come back here and put grommets in, but I'm not going to have an exposed spine. I don't think. I probably will cover the spine with a bit of lace trimming. So there we have that. Now we're back to the, I'm going to put this aside because I'm going to need it for punching holes in the signatures, or not punching holes in the signatures and figuring it out as I go. So what I need to figure out is, am I just going to sew these in directly as is, or do I first want to stitch them down with the sewing machine? And I think I'm going to stitch them down with the sewing machine. So I'm going to pause this here, and I will be back after I have the signatures sewn together.